local collaborative movement where the linguistic experience comes in from there. So I think that will hopefully get better over the next 2 to 3 years with collaboration both locally, and now we have a sort of a semi-formal collaboration with ISI in Kolkata that also helps the issues as well. Retention was a big problem. That was the biggest challenge we had for the first year and a half. We had a huge turnover in terms of staff. They were either going abroad or going to telecom mostly, actually. The salaries were offered were in some cases 4 times more than what we could offer, and obviously that is an attraction that's hard to beat. But one of the things that we're looking at is sort of formalizing staff's sort of I guess career path by providing MS or MPhil or MA or MPhil opportunities at Dhaka University, which we cannot offer because of regulatory reasons. So hopefully that will provide sort of an incentive for staff to stay for 2 to 3 years because they will get a degree at the end of it, as well as it be a job and otherwise as well. So I think the human resource capacity challenge at this point, at least we understand how to deal with it. We understand our mistakes. We sort of look at the lessons learned and see which way to go. The other part is affecting national policy. We've been listening to policy statements all over the place in the last 2 days, and most countries have had sort of similar problems. So how do we affect policy? How do we talk about localization? So for example, there's a broadband policy on the table in Bangladesh, hopefully that will pass over the next 6 months or so, and which does have a localization clause, explicit policy on localization. And we looked at this sort of the working group. One of the recommendation at the end is to have an explicit one. So this is our chance of really affecting national policy. So something that we will be pursuing vigorously over the next few months. We also have now on the table with Bangla Academy an electronic dictionary that will hopefully digitize and put it as part of our effort. So I think the national policy issue, we're hopeful at this point. We were hopeless about 2 years ago. So things have changed significantly, and sort of things are looking far better. So some of the side effects that we've had from pan-localization phase one is research output, something that we needed to get national and international exposure, something that our students and the staff who were working there needed the boost from it as well to do new things and more things. And we've had the first ever course offered in NLP in Bangladesh. In fact, we're teaching it again this semester as well. And there's sort of a excitement among students who wanted to work on, grammar checkers or OCRs or speech technology that wasn't there because we didn't really have an institution where all these things came together in one place. So pan-localization sort of helped seed this process by, without the fund, we could not have had all these people in the same place. We've had, the exposure also helped us. Microsoft came to us when they looked for a localization partner in the country. So the capacity was developed through working through the phase one. And some of the things that we're very sort of hopeful about the future. Until we started putting our software online, there was, except for one piece of software, a speller based on A spell, written by a Bangladeshi Bengali in Canada. There was not a single open source Bangla language processing application. Now everything we do is on the web. People download it, people look at it, and hopefully that someday they'll take it, enhance it, and turn around and contribute it back. So something that we're hopeful that will catch on in other languages as well in South Asia. Because if you look around in the language processing scene in South Asia, there are very few open source sort of environments of software that's available. So I think that's one good sign that's coming out of the side effect of pan-localization. So in the future, we're sort of looking at this point, advanced application. At this point, the end users become sort of the real target. So there is training involved. There's delivery to the end users, and phase two will look at a lot of these issues with our local partners, and we'll have 2 different partners in the next phase. And that's going to be via training with DNet, who will talk about this in detail in a day or so. And a lot of the collaborations are sort of, hopefully will develop into something that we can increase our capacity in doing more and better work. So, thank you.
Take a couple of questions.
IT policy. If you don't, maybe it's a backhanded way of sneaking it in. And our IT policy doesn't have a localization policy. We have an IT policy that doesn't say anything about localization other than vague statements. So in the broadband policy, the localization is explicit. Government shall localize all government information. So that will create policy that will in turn create demand for translators, demand for software, demand for all the other things that come in. So that's why it needed to be explicit.
Good afternoon. This is the outline of my presentation. I'll be talking a little bit on situation before we had this localization project. Then what has really motivated us to go into another platform, and of course project initiation and who are our partners in the country, and project contribution from government side and the IDRC part, and what has been achieved, challenges and problems that we have faced along the process of implementing this particular project, then future plans and how we sustain ourselves with this localization. The situation before the start of the project, there were a lot of fonts with different keyboards, particularly trying to address their own particular requirements, which were not really standardized. And we had a lot of compatibility issues, those fonts and the systems not talking to each other. And there were in fact about 8 odd fonts developed in different systems, just trying to address their own sort of needs. And then we realized, and even the DDA realized, that they just cannot afford to go haywire. And there was a need to really standardize all these fonts. And to address these, DDC initiated this Unicode standard system in Microsoft Windows. And however, this particular project, really got dragged on, and without much of visible sort of significance on the ground. And also what we have found was that although the project completed in 2004, still to operate that particular Unicode Zonka system in Microsoft, people still had to have some sort of English knowledge to operate that particular system, because all the interfaces were still in English. And it was not much of benefit for those people who could read and write only Zonka. What has motivated us was, first, this Zonka Microsoft project was dragging, and we also had some sort of our own intention to develop our own capacity. And the other factor was that we had all the tools readily available because of the project that was undertaken by DDC in the Microsoft. So these were the 3 reasons that motivated us, because being impatient with the project that was dragging on, we thought that we might get on